So now, before we go back, we go into today's topics, let me tell you one thing very clearly. It is for everybody. That is, please send your assignments and your homework and your lecture notes by the email I have given to you, and please don't send anything to me by Facebook. Secondly, please write your names very clearly. Write your names and your class very clearly. Otherwise, the problem is that you have quite fancy email addresses or Facebook IDs. Like I've been receiving things from Drake, Katajo, Ninja, Phantom, Superman. So I don't know who you are. So it will be impossible for me to give you the correct points or the scores to your names. So please do write your names very clearly to get your the correct scores for yourself. Please do not forget that, right? So now, going into today's lessons, we are going to deal with the Kotler's change management process. So Philip Kotler is a Pandit or a Guru, is one of the most famous management scientists of our times, right? So when we talked about the unfreezing, preparing and freezing method. That is, same like you cooking a chicken, right? When you buy a chicken in the market, it is frozen, right? So if you want to cook a chicken, first thing is you have to defreeze it. Then you have to prepare it. Then you have to cook it, and if you have more food, you can freeze it. So change management can be compared very well to exactly to this process. So defreezing basically means we have to prepare the people or prepare the labor force, prepare the whole organizational team, right, to accept the change. That is what we mean by defreezing. Over here, that is that portion comes in as preparation, or to prepare the people to change. Now, second is the implementation of the change, right? That is making the employees, making the organizational team aware of what the change is, why the change is necessary, and how it is going to happen, and what are the benefits that is going to be derived from these changes, right? Third is managing the change. Managing the change means once the change, the action plan that has been implemented, managing it is evaluating it, taking corrective actions, and moving forward, making any necessary changes or anything. That is what we mean by manage. So now, let us go one by one through these steps basically. First, in the section of preparation, we have 3 steps. First, create a sense of urgency. Creating a sense of urgency basically means we have to make the people, the organizational, the different teams or the different sections of the organization aware, right? I mean, we have to make them why this change is very necessary and why it has to be done very fast. So the reason is like, see, as we talked about, change becomes necessary because of technological changes, market competition, right? So now, just imagine if you are a company operating using the old conventional methods of accounting, right? Using calculators or using abacus or whatever that you're using. Now, the times have changed. Now, every company has started using computers. So, how are we going to create this sense of urgency into the people, right? The thing is that like, if a company does not change with the times, then the company is going to fall, right? So changing, I mean, the importance of survival, that is the best example for creating a sense of urgency in the people, right? Second, form a powerful coalition. That is, a coalition means creating a partnership or getting different people together to work as the core or as the center of the team basically, right? And then, so how you do that is basically choose people, different people from different sections or different levels of organizational hierarchy, or whichever that you think the situation calls for. So that is why you have to make a coalition. So this is a coalition that is going to support you to pass on your messages and to make the people understand what is the necessity of this change basically. Then create a vision. Creating a vision, right? The thing is that like it is not enough that the management knows what is going to happen, right? What will be achieved by implementing this change. But when the grassroots level people do not know why they have to change. We talked in the previous lessons that people are rebellious or people do not want to change because that makes them leave their comfortable zone, the zone of comfort. That is, I've been doing it for ages, for so many years I've been doing it like this. So why should I change it this time? You might have heard about this corona issue this year when the government announced not to have too much of Lunar New Year celebrations or to avoid Lunar New Year celebrations. A lot of people came out openly against it, especially the older generation or other people. They said, no, we have been celebrating Lunar New Year or Sagansar for so many years, and why should we change? Corona or no corona, we don't care, right? But slowly people understood, and then this year, I think there has been a very low level of celebrations. So that is the thing. People don't know, don't see. Each person, when we implement change, when we plan the change, when we explain about this change to the people, they should be able to see, they should be able to visualize it. That is, after the change is implemented, what will happen or what will be the benefit to them, to the company and to the society, right? That is what we are talking about as the first step of implementing change. So this is the preparatory stages. Preparatory stage, we have create a sense of urgency, form a powerful coalition, create a vision. Once this is done, we have removed the stubbornness from people not to change, right? So now they are ready, they are willing to change. What we have to do is, we have to feed them. That is, when the children don't eat food, maybe you don't give them food for a while, make them hungry, right? That is preparing them to eat basically. The same way, we prepare them with the help of the vision, then having a small network of people, because you as a manager, you may not be able to go to each and every individual and explain this thing to them personally. So this is the coalition or the group or the small group or the core group, as we can say, who will be helping you in this act, right? Now moving on to the second stage, right? Once we communicate the vision to the whole organization, then remove the obstacles. Now, communicating the vision brings in understanding, right? So people start understanding what is going to happen. When people understand what is going to happen, there will be objections, right? That is the time, like if I don't know what is going to happen to me, right? Like I will happily move forward. But if I know what is going to happen, right? So now, many, just for example, I'll tell you, it is a very good example. I think we have taken this example earlier also. As you all know, I'm from India. So in India, back in 1995, 2000 era, there was a lot of strikes, a lot of problems happening in the government and private sector businesses. The reason was computerization, right? So computerization means what? People used to use calculators and everything for accounting and calculating everything till then. So in 1995, when Windows 95 was first introduced and computers become an inevitable equipment or a technology in every offices, in every organizations. All the organizations, including the government organizations, wanted to bring in computer. But what happened was, people were scared. When the vision of having computerized in the offices to make the life of the people, of the employees easier and less work hours and better results and easy work. But people came up with a lot of obstacles. The obstacle was they were afraid. These computers are going to kill our jobs. We are going to be unemployed. They thought a lot of people will be fired from their jobs because of computers. So computers were seen as an enemy to the employees basically. So these sort of obstacles, when people understand the vision or what is going to happen once the changes are implemented, that is the time when the obstacles come out. Now these obstacles has to be removed, as we discussed in the previous lesson. It has to be removed by counseling or explaining the benefits of this one, right? That is, for example, when people started seeing computers as their enemy or their job killer, in reality, it never happened. I mean, a computer cannot operate by itself. We need people to operate it. It's only that their skill has to be improved. So, second step is, first is counseling, second is training, or giving the extra skill required for the people to adapt to the change. Then, create short-term wins, right? Creating short-term wins, it can be like compensating the employees for something. Okay, fine, you have a training program, whoever comes first into that, okay, give them some incentive, right? Or show them, if we use this, once this change happens in the first 3 months or 6 months, we can achieve this much of sales target, or that becomes so easy for you. So these are the examples that you can use for creating short-term wins for the employees and for the organization. Now, managing the change, that is the last step. We have two by steps in that one. First one, build on the change, right? So now, as we say, hit the iron when it is hot, right? So the thing is that when we have prepared the people for change, we have implemented the change, because change is an ongoing process. It never happens once or something, right? And as you say, nobody is perfect, or no process or no idea is perfect basically. So when we are creating a vision for the company, for the organizational change, and then once we've implemented the change into action, what basically happens, you might find some shortcomings or some areas to improve basically. So that is what we mean by build on the change. Next is embed the change into the culture. Embedding the change means like making the change permanent. That is, putting it like making it as a rule, or once the implementation of the change has been done, then what you do is make it as a covenant or a permanent rule that has to be followed by everybody in the organization, right? And again, remember, organizational change is for everybody from the top to the bottom, and not only for the operational staff or the management, but it is for everyone, right? Applying the 7-step organizational strategic change management process. Now, listen very carefully to these 4 steps. Now, you can see all the 4 steps on this slide, and we will be going in detail on each of the steps later. So, let us just skim through it, or just move as fast as possible through this slide. The first step is forces for change. So, we discussed forces for change basically means like the internal and external forces. Internal forces, then environmental forces, that is from the outside basically. So environment basically we mean the environment in which, or the business environment in which a business organization is operating, right? We talked about this business environment before, which includes from the government to the competitors to the infrastructure to the rules and regulations of the country. All these are the different forces that affect your organization, or these are the factors which forces every organization to bring in a change, right? Second, performance outcomes. That is, we have to look at the outcomes of the implementation of the change implemented through individual outcomes, group and organizational, right? Then, diagnosis of the problem. So, in case you have any problem while implementing the change or before planning the change, you have to diagnose. Diagnose means basically what? Means to understand the root cause. You go to your doctor, the doctor first, he or she does is diagnose your problem, or finding the reason why this problem is happening, right? So that is what we mean by diagnosis. There is information, participation and change agent, which leads to 4th step, selection of appropriate intervention. Selection of appropriate solution to the problem basically. It can be structural, behavioral or technological, right? as constrained by sports. We will explain all these different points in the coming slides in very much in detail. The limiting conditions. Then what are the restrictions? What are the conditions that is limiting or stopping you from growing or implementing the change in proper way or in 100% basically? That can be leadership climate, formal organization structure, and organizational culture, right? So organizational culture, all this we have talked about before, like it can be a clan culture, it can be a hereditary, it can be any other form of culture followed by the organization. Then selection and implementation of the method, right? Or which method are you using to implement the change? It can be the timing, scope, or experimentation for the change basically. It is a provision for evaluation of the method, right? So now these are the criteria or these are the parameters with which we are going to evaluate the method that we have implemented. The feedback, adjustment, revision, reinforcement, right? Now, let us go back to the step 1, right? So now, the first step, forces for change, internal and external strategic assessment, right? So step 1 of the strategic change management process starts with an assessment of the organization's mission, vision, challenges, enablers, and values, right? Now, I'm sure you all understand what is the mission and what is the vision of a company. What we mean by mission is what the company wants to do, right? That is basically what is the activity, the main goal of the organization. That is the mission. The vision is what you want to achieve, or where will the company or the organization be, or the society and the organization together. What are the beneficial values, or what are the benefits derived by implementing the mission is your vision basically. Then the challenges or the pains as we call it. The challenges are the obstructions or the factors that is negatively impacting or negatively affecting the implementation of or the achievement of your goals and objectives. Yeah? And enablers, the helpful factors, the factors that are helpful to the organization or to the business in achieving the objectives. And the values of an organization. Now, values of every organization, it changes from company to company, depending from country to country, depending, again, we can say, depending on the business environment. Business environment that we say, the business environment is the suppliers, your employees, then your competitors, then the government, then the society. This is the environment or the ecosystem in which the business operates, right? So all these factors directly or indirectly affects your business operations basically. So the following strategically relevant items form the scope to be scrutinized by business managers. 1. The company's mission statement, the company's strategic plan or vision, the financial status of the organization, right? How the organization is currently structured and operating, the level of expertise of their employees, customer satisfaction level. Now, the mission statement, how does that affect, right? Why is that very relevant for a company, for a business organization, or while defining the scope of the change, why the business managers have to clearly understand, or why they give it more weightage, is that the mission statement is the basic objective or the goal of the organization. Now the change that is going to be implemented has to be in line with the company's mission. The company is supposed to be like, if it's a charitable company, charitable organization, or if it is a telecom organization, they have their mission is to provide best quality telecom services to these people. And we are changing, and then we cannot have a change that is contradictory to this mission statement. Second, the company's strategic plan or vision. The same way, everything has to be, the scope of change has to be in line with the strategic plan or the vision. Otherwise, the mission or the vision or none of these things will be achieved by the company, or the implementation of this change is not going to help in achieving the company objectives or the business objectives or business goals basically. So now, the financial status of the organization. As you all know, business is an expensive operation. Every business, marketing or change or implementing change is not very cheap. It is expensive. Now, as we talked about before, buying a calculator may be much cheaper than buying a computer. So the company should have, right, the financial capacity to afford these changes. If the company doesn't have the financial capacity to buy new technology, to change the current technology and to have a cutting edge, to have an advantage in the market above their competitors, then what you need is basically, you need the financial status. So the financial status has to be very carefully considered before the change can be implemented, right? Now, how the organization is currently structured and operating. That is basically finding out or assessing exactly where we are or what we are at this given moment, right? So what are we doing now? Well, I mean, what are we now? What are we doing now? Where are we in relation to our competitors? Or, what are our current sales? All these issues, the structure, what is the organizational hierarchy, and what is the way we are operating, what technology we are using, right? What are the systems and processes that are being implemented or being used currently. So, depending on that, only we can change. Now, just imagine if you have a building, of a two-story building, right, which has a foundation, has with a capacity of maybe 4 stories, right? But if you plan to make a 12-story building or build on top of it another 8 floors, the basic structure is not going to help it. So that is why we have to find out what is the basic structure first, right? And what is its capacity? How much can we build onto it, right? Then only we can continue making that change basically. So the level of expertise of their employees. Now, level of expertise, we can simplify it as the skill level, right? Every organization has some special skills. Every employee, when they are employed in an organization or when they are recruited into an organization, they have, it depends on their skill levels basically. And the skill level increases as their experience increases, right? So now, just imagine, now when we want to, you all know about the airline industry, right? So, there is a pilot, right? Just imagine you're a pilot who is licensed to fly or who has been flying Boeing 737, the small aircraft, for maybe 3, 4, 5 years, right? Suddenly the company wants to buy Boeing 787. There is a much larger aircraft with a slightly different operating system. Then, can you use the same pilot who has been flying this 737 or Boeing 737 for so many years? Can we just put him directly into the Boeing 787 and let him fly it? Sorry, you can't, basically. So you need to get a pilot with experience or with knowledge of flying this particular aircraft, say 787, right? Or what you can do is, you have to send your current pilot, right, to increase his expertise. So that is what we mean by level of expertise. That is using different technology or new technology or using anything that is new that we acquire from the market or from the new technology or new machines or new equipment, whatever it may be, or new policies, right? Suppose like there's a new taxation, new tax rule or something that is implemented by the government. So you have to train your employee, or you have to increase the level of expertise of your employees, or you have to get new employees with that special expertise, without which the implementation of change cannot be complete, right? Then, customer satisfaction level. For any company or every company, this is the most important aspect. Why companies wants to change? That is, to obtain better customer satisfaction. And in case the change is affecting the customer satisfaction negatively, That means the change is totally unnecessary or unwanted, or it is out of place basically, right? And then the analysis that you can do, SWOT analysis, you are finding out the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats that is newly available, right? Because once you've implemented change, the whole thing, the whole arena becomes open, and new opportunities and new strength and weaknesses comes in. And then we have done the SWOT analysis so many times in the class, so I'm not going to explain it anymore. Now the PEST analysis, or PESTEL analysis as we call it, right? That is the political, economical, social, and technological, right? That is what we mean by PESTEL, right? This analysis. Now you have changed, you have implemented change, and your company is operating in a different mode now. So the political effects. So the political means we mean by political, what we mean is basically. Okay, first let me write the PEST, right? It is technological, yeah. So now the political scenario. The political scenario, what we mean is, what are the new rules and regulations regarding the new equipments that you have bought, or the usage of new technology that you have newly acquired. So is there any political restrictions on using all these items? Second, the economic impact, right? How is it affecting the company, or in its manufacture, or in its production of its products? And then the social impact. Now, is the society is being benefited, or is the society is being affected in a negative manner? Just imagine you started a new thermal power plant, right? So thermal power plant, same as we have in Mongolia, like S4 or S3 or S2 that we have. The thing is that it may have a negative impact on the society because it emits too much of smoke. So it pollutes the atmosphere, right? So these are the different negative or positive impacts the change is bringing in to the company, to the organization, and how it affects, or how it is correlated to the government policies, economic benefits, social effects, and technological, right? How fast is this technology going to be the best, or how it is going to affect you, how it is going to change lives of people basically, right? So it's been a short lesson today, and maybe but don't wait for May 15 to send me the notes and everything. So please do send it as soon as possible, right? And study well and keep safe. Okay, thank you very much.